While millions of people are completely indifferent to what happens on a field or court, there's a massive group of people who live and breathe sports. And according to neuroscience, their brains might actually be wired differently. Stay with me because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see yourself if you're one of those people who can't miss a game. Here's the thing, nobody talks about obsessing over sports doesn't make you shallow. It doesn't mean you're wasting your life, and it definitely doesn't mean something's wrong with you. But there is something fascinating happening in your brain that's completely different from the 40% of Americans who couldn't care less about who wins the championship. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do you care so much? Humans are tribal creatures. For thousands of years, being part of a group meant survival. Your tribe protected you from predators, helped you hunt, kept you alive. In sports, they're basically the perfect modern outlet for those ancient instincts, now with stadium seating and instant replay. When you watch your team, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that makes you love your family. This isn't a trick. Your brain genuinely recognizes these athletes as part of your extended social group, and that connection, it's real. But here's where it gets interesting. People who obsess over sports often have what psychologists call strong tribal instincts. Their identity is powerfully tied to being part of something bigger. They're wired to say, I belong to something greater than myself, and that gives my life meaning. And there's actual research on this. A 2019 study found that people with high sports interest showed stronger group cohesion and community bonding. Translation, they understand the deep human need for collective identity that's been essential to our species for millennia. But wait, it gets better, because what happens in the brain of a sports fan during a game is legitimately remarkable. You know that feeling when you're about to open a present, that anticipation? That's dopamine firing in your brain. As a sports fan, you get that same surge during games. Every play, every possession, constant engagement with something that matters. Studies using fMRI scans show that watching your team activates the same reward centers as achieving personal goals and experiencing genuine excitement. And here's the beautiful part. The uncertainty is what makes it so powerful. You don't know if your team will win. That unpredictability keeps you fully present, fully engaged in the moment. It's one of the few times in modern life where you're not scrolling, not multitasking, just completely absorbed. People who obsess over sports, their dopamine systems are finely tuned to respond to vicarious achievement and collective triumph. And this might be genetic. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that variations in dopamine receptor genes can predict how much someone cares about competitive spectator activities. Think about that. Your deep investment in whether your team wins or loses might literally be in your DNA, part of what made your ancestors successful in group environments. But there's another layer. Sports fans experience something called burging, basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they say, "We won." When their team loses, they lost. Some critics call this a pronoun switch, but here's what it actually is: sophisticated social cognition. You're practicing the ability to share in collective success and distance yourself from collective failure. This is the same psychological skill that helps humans navigate complex social hierarchies, build resilient communities, and maintain morale during difficult times. Your self-esteem isn't fragile, it's strategic. Now, before the comment section explodes, I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but I am saying there are legitimate psychological advantages, and understanding them is fascinating. Here's something that sounds contradictory, but isn't. Sports fans often score higher on certain empathy measures. They've practiced caring deeply about other people's struggles, even if those people are strangers. They've developed the capacity to feel genuine joy for someone else's victory and genuine pain for someone else's defeat. Why do sports fans feel that deep empathy for athletes? It's about empathy training. By following sports, you're constantly exercising your ability to care about others, to understand different perspectives, to invest emotionally in narratives beyond your own immediate experience. A 2021 study found that people with high sports interest scored higher in social bonding and community integration. They're getting their emotional fulfillment from shared experience, collective emotion, communal narrative, and tribal belonging. Their brains are seeking what humans have always sought: connection through shared meaning. And let's be honest about something else. For some people, caring deeply about sports is actually a sophisticated coping mechanism. It provides structure, routine, something to look forward to. It creates social bonds, gives you common ground with strangers, provides endless conversation material. It offers hope, drama, and catharsis in a world that often feels chaotic and meaningless. Your passion might have a purpose beyond what you realize. But here's the part that explains so much about why sports fans and non-sports fans can't understand each other. It comes down to how you experience meaning. Sports fans find meaning in narrative, the underdog story, the comeback, the dynasty, the rivalry. It's compelling because it combines genuine uncertainty with real human efforts and emotional stakes. People who obsess over sports recognize that this randomness is precisely what makes it meaningful. They think, I'm going to emotionally invest in this uncertain outcome because that's what makes victory sweet, what makes the journey matter, what makes me feel alive. And they're not wrong. It's a profound approach to the human need for story and meaning. Finding epic narrative in a championship run is finding meaning in real time with millions of others in a shared moment that will never happen exactly the same way again. Here's what researchers call parasocial investment, but let's reframe it: vicarious participation. Sports fans build relationships with teams and players that, while one-sided in communication, are reciprocal in emotional impact. You invest your energy, and in return, you get drama, inspiration, heartbreak, and triumph. You're not just a spectator, you're a witness to human excellence, a participant in collective emotion. This is a valid strategy for navigating the human experience. Psychologist Csikszentmihalyi, who studied optimal experience, found that flow states, those moments of complete absorption, can be achieved through countless activities. For you, it's watching sports, and there's nothing less than about that. And here's what's really interesting. People who obsess over sports often report feeling more connected to something larger than themselves. They're not just living inside their own heads. They're experiencing communal joy and shared suffering. There's something profoundly human about that. So what does all this mean? If you obsess over sports, you're not wasting your time on some trivial distraction. You're engaging with something ancient, something deeply wired into what makes us human. Your brain's reward system, your tribal instincts, your empathy capacity, they're all working exactly as evolution designed them to. And that's not just okay, that's beautiful. The next time someone says, I don't get why you care so much about a game, remember, you're not obsessed, you're not missing out on real life. You're experiencing one of humanity's most enduring forms of meaning-making, one that might, just maybe, connect you to something sports indifferent people will never fully understand.